Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the Crafty Emporium. So we're working on tags still for the Country Diary Journal. Excuse me. Now, just before I start, this is the tag that I'm going to show you how to make today, and I've used cigarette cards on it, okay, because obviously the wildflowers, it goes well with the Country Diary theme. And so what I've done is I've made two new digital kits with vintage cigarette cards, okay. So on the first page you get a list of things that you could do with them, and then you have, let me lay them down flat and then you can see it all then, and then you've got the full page with 3 different types of cigarette cards. Ambulance going by, oh, fire engine, and then a description about each of the flowers underneath. So you get 2 pages there, 2 pages there, 2 pages there, 2 pages there, and then you get a bonus tag, which I'm going to come to in a bit. All right, so that is set number 1. Okay, then in set number 2 you've got a different set of flowers. So you've got this one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and then you've got the bonus page tags again. All right, so that is set number 2. So there's 2 sets at the moment. There are more to come, different types, but this is the album of wildflowers, and this is what I'm going to be using with this particular tag today. All right, so they are available in my Etsy store, and in the description box down below you will find the link. Okay, now then, I am also doing a live YouTube thingy on a Sunday afternoon, 3 PM UK time, which I think is early morning in US stroke Canada, and sort of early evening for Europe, as a bit of a guideline. If you have a look on the YouTube channel, you will see at the top on the home page it says home, videos, playlists, channel. If you have a look at playlists, I've collated together all the Country Diary things from the beginning of the journal through to some of the elements that you can make up for the journal, and the tags will be in there as well. So if you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. If you want to catch up with the rest of the Country Diary things, to save you scrolling through all the videos, if you have a look up at playlists, you'll find them all grouped together there. Now then, going back to the glue book bit, I created a background page not last week but the week before using dictionary pages, and I just want to quickly go through with you what it is that I did. So basically I got a vintage dictionary page, and I use my basic grey Stampin' Up pad, and I used a mandala type stamp image, and I just stamped this image onto the dictionary pages, and then I ripped it to shreds because I'm vicious like that. No, I'm not. But yeah, so basically I ripped all those pages up, and then I glued them onto a background page, so that you've got sort of this mishmash of the coloured paper, because obviously because it's a vintage dictionary paper, you've got the patina with the aging on it, and then the centre of the page where there is no aging, and then obviously you've got the mandala image as well within there as well. So it's a little bit like doing a Franken page, I suppose. Now the other thing that I did, which I haven't done on this one, was I'd also got some tissue paper, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see it. Let me bring it up close, and it's slightly whiter so it's got text on it, and so I ripped parts of the tissue paper out. But of course, if you've got a napkin as well, you can create, let me move that out of the way and then you might be able to see better. So you can see I've got it here and here. So that was how I created the background for this. So what I did was I took some photographs, and that is, hang on, let me find it. That is the bonus tag that I've created in the digital kit. So I've done a copy of this one and also the back of it as well, so that was the back of the tag, so that if you want to not go down that road of ripping up the dictionary pages, because you might not have any, but at least you've got one as a bonus that you can use in the digital kit, so that if you want to create the same effects, then you can. So basically what I did was I'd got a piece of card that I printed something on and it was totally wrong. So rather than throwing it away, that's the background that I created. Now there's no reason why you can't then go and put gesso over the top of it to just dampen down the colours a little bit, so that they actually merge and blend a little bit better if you so wish. But then what I did was I just took the card and I just chopped it up willy-nilly. I love that word, willy-nilly. Oh wait, do you know this blade in my trimmer keeps doing this to me, keeps breaking apart. I need to replace it really. Let me just pop that back in there. It's not clicking back into place like it should do. Right, let me take that down a little bit now. Do it slowly, Carol, do it slowly. Okay. And I just trimmed it down to form a nice, neat rectangle. She says with now jagged edges. I'll have to cut that with the scissors in a minute. I think my blade's starting to get a little bit blunt, and I think it's just snagged on the thickness of all the paper. So let me just trim this up a little with my scissors. Of course, if you haven't got any gesso, the other thing that you could use is Tim Holtz Distress Stain. I have got some. Can I find it? Can I? Heck. But you could use the Distress Picket Fence Distress Stain on it as well. Okay, so then I chopped off the corners. Nearly forgot that bit. Just as I've done previously, cut off the corner, flip it over, do the same on the opposite corner, and then I inked the edges up. And I used walnut stain because I wanted it to be quite dark. And I've got my little sheet of plastic down. And obviously the first layer that you put on, it does tend to dry out a little bit paler. Just take some from off the corners because I only inked this up the other day. There we go. Got a bit of colour on there now. So it will dry a little bit paler, and you can go over it a second time to create a slightly darker version. The other thing that I did as well was I painted some PVA glue over the top as well, to just get it all to tie together, you know, to hold the papers all in place, give it a bit of a finish as well. So that might be why my ink's not taking quite so well. Okay. And then I glued, using my Collal glue, the whole the whole tag to some of this craft card, because I wanted it to create a little bit of a border, but also to give the card that little bit of extra support. Sorry, I'm putting a lot on because my glue's not coming out very fast. So I just need to make sure I've got it covered. And then I'm going to leave a border from the edge of the card. Got a hair on my finger, hang on, pull that out of the way. From the edge of the card to the edge of the tag, so that it sort of frames it. Make sure I'm nice and even. Okay. And then I can trim this down as well. And I cut it out to a rectangle. And then with my scissors, I want just a touch more off that edge there. Just a touch too much. There we go, that's better. And then I'm just going to trim off those corners. Bring back my piece of plastic. Now, I'm not doing the circular motion as normal. As you can see, I'm pushing it on and pushing it off, because I just want it on the edge of the craft card, going from dark at the very edge through to a little bit of light, and sort of doing it this way just helps to create that effect. Get a little bit more ink. Everything's got fluffy itis today. I think I'm about ready for a new sponge on the end of my dibby dabby doobie. You must all think I'm nuts calling it a dibby dabby doobie. Yeah, well, I am. I am and proud. There we go. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do here, I have done a little bit of prep beforehand so that it doesn't take quite so long. I've just cut out a small rectangle of craft card and I'm just going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to punch rather, my little circle hole. And it was the We Are Memory Keepers thingy that I was talking about in the last video. See, I still can't remember what it's called. And trim it down so that I've got a square. Okay, so I've now got like a little rectangle with holes in. Just going to ink the edges of that up. And I need to do that on the front and on the back. See if I've got enough ink. Yes, you have, Carol. Okay, I'm going to use my PVA glue for this one, my tacky glue. I'm going to open it up, and on the inside I'm going to put glue all the way around and across that middle bit. and then I'm going to sit it over the top of my tag. It just gives it a slightly different finish. Okay, I'm just going to wait for that glue to dry a little, because I need to punch through that hole again so that I've actually got the hole in my tag. Now what I did was, so from the digital kit, let's clear the decks a bit, Carol, I cut out around these two angled cigarette cards, and then I cut off the written information underneath each one. What I then did was this. So I layered the two cigarette cards just onto some of the craft cardstock. Alright, so that now gives that a little bit of body. The written words I did onto craft cardstock first and did a very narrow border, and then I glued it onto some cream cardstock and did a slightly wider border on it. Alright, and what I did was, with the, let's do the cigarette cards first. So if I bring in the original, so what I did was I glued the two cigarette cards together, so I needed to decide which one I wanted on top and which one I wanted underneath, and I think that the dark pink looks better underneath, it stands out more. So what I did was I tilted this one at an angle, and then this one I glued on straight, but I glued them so that this is slightly offset, alright, so that it's not a continuous line at the bottom here. There's a little bit of a recess before you get to the next one. Alright, I hope that makes sense. So this one's on a slight angle and slightly lower. This one's vertical and slightly higher. Alright, so I'm just going to add some glue just along this edge here, and glue those two together. Now I don't want it overlapping too much that it's then obliterating, so that it's then sort of covering over all of that image there. Oh, sorry, the sun's come out. Let me just pull my blind down a little. It's a real funny day today. The sun has occasionally got his hat on. Hip 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 hooray. But sometimes it's really dull and overcast as though it's going to rain. It's a it can't make its mind up kind of day. Okay, so then I'm going to use my little holy punch, and I'm going to punch a hole. I knew this would be tough. Come on. I think I'm going to have to get me. See if I can do it from this side. No, it's too thick. Right, I'm just going to get me doings out. The thing that I can't think what it's called. Yeah, this one. And on the bigger hole. Okay, let's make sure the nice thing about this is that it will go through really easily through really thick card. What's it called? It's gonna drive me nuts. Crocodile. Me crocodile big bite. There we go. Save me struggling with my little hole punchy. Okay, now I've already cut out some reinforcers from my craft cardstock like I showed in the previous video, so I'm just going to use my PVA glue on there, and I'm going to stick one front and back because it just helps to protect that hole. And then I'm going to get a bulb pin and so I'm using an antique brass bulb pin, and I sell these in my little pop-up shop. Now then, on this one I put the word hope. I could use blessed or blessed, but I think that I might put this sunflower charm on it. So I would put that on the bulb pin, put the bulb pin through the hole, and for now I'm just going to pin that. So that I've basically made what's commonly known these days as a bit of a cluster, but a very simple one. Okay, so on this original version I stitched around the whole of the outside, which I will do off camera. I'm not going to do it on camera now because it just takes up too much time. But what I love this. This tea card here, this flower is called the Great Hairy Willow Herb. What a fabulous name. It did make me chuckle. I thought, I'm not throwing that away. That's going on. Ah, the Great Hairy Willow Herb. How unfortunate. Okay, so Thrift is the image that I've got on the top here because the name is there at the bottom. It's not that I'm clever or anything. And I place that down there. Okay, but I'm only going to glue it around 3 sides. My little bottle wants filling up. I'm having to squidge it. Okay, so I'll place that on the bottom there. So I've now got a little pocket for just some very simple basic tags that will then sit inside of there. So I wouldn't stick them in until that glue is set off. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, tell you what, whilst I've got the crocodile out, I'll do that as well. And then that's that bit done. Okay. Now then, on the back I added a pocket. Now the type of pocket that I like to create is one that has got, where's my bit of card gone? There we go. One that is folded in. You'll see what I mean in a sec. So I'm going to cut a piece of card. How wide's that? How wide have I done it? 4 1/4 inches. Right, so the pocket that I want to make, I want to add an extra 1/4 inch on this side and 1/4 inch on this side, so that makes it 4 3/4 inches. So 4 3/4 inches. So that's how wide I want it to be, and then depth wise I reckon to about there. I'm not normally a measurer. Okay. and then I'm going to punch a semicircle, so a little thumb hole in what will be the top. And then I'm going to do 1/4 inch score there, 1/4 inch on the bottom, and 1/4 inch on the side, and then I'm going to fold those over. That looks more like 1/2 inch there, Carol. Not to worry. Okay, so I've now created my little flaps. Now the reason why I like having the flaps on is it gives you that little bit more space inside of your pocket, and then I'm just tapering off the corner on each of those sides so that it gives it a neater finish. And the bottom bit goes up first, and then the 2 side flaps. I'm just going to place some glue on the flaps. Now on the original version I made my pocket with vellum, and the nice thing about doing the flaps with vellum is that the glue doesn't show through because the glue is on the flaps, and then that will stick on the bottom there. So I've now got a pocket on the back of my tag, and then I used the other information card and I stuck that onto the back. But again, what I did was I cut up some bits of lace, put it behind, and just made it a little bit decorative. So you can mess about with your bit of cheesecloth, your bits of lace, and any other bits that you want. Do you remember the chipboard pieces that we made? So you could add one of the chipboard pieces on the back. And then to finish this off, I have got this lovely textured wool which is all curly whirly. Fold it in half again. Get a piece of seam binding. In fact, no, let's just fold it in half once. Piece of seam binding. And then I'm going to pop them through my hole at the top. Pop them through the loop. Trim off any excess. And I'll trim those down in a bit, and then with this ball pin I place the ball pin underneath the fibres, and so then I've got my tag. To put them little ones, there they are, and then that little pocket at the bottom. So those are my two bigger tags. I'm going to do another video of two other different types of tags, and then I'm moving on to something else. So I look forward to seeing the next one. Bye for now.